Tired of overpowered protagonists with harems? These 10 isekai anime actually try something different. From strategic MMO warfare to philosophical sci-fi, these shows prove the genre isn't completely brain dead. Let's count them down. Kicking off with number 10, we've got Log Horizon. Look, this is what happens when you take the isekai formula and add actual brain cells. 30,000 players trapped in an MMO? Cool premise. But instead of Kiritoing their way through everything, Shiro actually uses economics, politics, and game mechanics to survive. The show literally has episodes about taxation and guild governance, and somehow it's not boring. Watching Shiroi manipulate entire factions with contracts and loopholes hits different when every other isekai protagonist just screams and swings harder. The fight scenes take a backseat to strategy sessions, and honestly, that's refreshing. Database playing in the background while nerds discuss supply chains is peak 2013 energy. Yeah, the animation quality dips harder than Crypto in Season 2, and the pacing drags occasionally, but when this show clicks, it's like watching Death Note meets World of Warcraft. Plus, Akatsuki is adorable and will stab you. Sliding to number 9, here's No Game, No Life. This show said, what if chess, but make it seizure-inducing colors and sibling codependency? Sora and Shiro are shut-in gamers who get transported to a world where everything, wars, territory, even romance, is decided by games. And they're disgustingly good at it. Watching these two clown on gods with poker and video games while looking like they haven't seen sunlight in years is unironically hype. The animation is gorgeous in that oversaturated neon vomit way that somehow works. Every frame looks like a Skittles commercial directed by someone on 3 energy drinks. The fan service is questionable at times. Yes, we see you, camera angles, but the actual games and strategies are legitimately clever. Landing on number 8, we have Overlord. Finally, an isekai where the protagonist embraces being the villain. Ain's Uolgaon is a skeleton lich stuck in his game world, commanding an army of hilariously overpowered NPCs who think he's a 10,000 IQ mastermind, when really, he's just winging it and panicking internally. The comedy comes from watching Ain's accidentally stumble into genius-level strategies, while his subordinates worship him like he's Light Yagami. Demiurge out here, writing PhD theses on Ain's brilliant plans, when my guy just wanted to look cool. The world building is insane. Madhouse really cooked with the details, and watching Ain's casually commit war crimes with the emotional investment of someone ordering takeout is darkly hilarious. Looking at number 7, it's Ascendance of a Bookworm. This show has no right being this compelling. A book-obsessed woman reincarnates into a medieval fantasy world where books are rare and expensive, so she decides to make them herself. That's it. That's the plot, and it's good. Mine isn't out here collecting Dragon Balls or defeating demon lords. She's fighting poverty, class systems, and her own failing body while trying to revolutionize printing technology. Watching her MacGyver medieval papermaking with tree bark and determination hits harder than most shonen power-ups. The show dives deep into economics, social structures, and the actual grind of innovation. It's cozy but also heartbreaking because Mine's illness keeps reminding you she's on borrowed time. Moving to number 6, we've got Gate. Thus, the JSDF fought there. Modern military versus dragons and magic? Say less. A portal opens in Tokyo, fantasy armies invade, and Japan's self-defense force says bet and rolls through with tanks, helicopters, and assault rifles. Watching medieval knights get absolutely demolished by modern weaponry is cathartic in a way I can't explain. Atami is a refreshingly chill protagonist who just wants to enjoy his otaku hobbies, but keeps accidentally becoming a hero. The show does fan service and harem elements. Yes, we know, but it also explores interesting political themes about imperialism, diplomacy, and cultural exchange. When the JSDF isn't dunking on wyverns with fighter jets, the show actually has thoughtful conversations about war ethics and power dynamics. Hitting number 5, here's Recreators. This is reverse isekai on steroids. Instead of going to another world, fictional characters from anime, games, and manga get pulled into our reality. And they're pissed. Imagine your favorite anime character discovering they're fictional and confronting their creator about all the trauma they went through. The existential crisis alone is peak content. The show tackles metafiction, creator responsibility, and what it means to exist as a story. Altair is one of the most compelling antagonists in anime. Her motivations are tragic and understandable even when she's trying to destroy reality. The fights are gorgeous, blending different art styles and genres as characters with wildly different powers clash. Watching a mecha fight a magical girl while a visual novel protagonist has an existential breakdown in the background is exactly as chaotic as it sounds. Dropping into number 4, we have the Vision of Escaflowne, the OG isekai before isekai became oversaturated garbage. High school girl gets transported to a fantasy world with giant mecha, destiny prophecies, and a winged pretty boy with trauma. This show aged like fine wine. The blend of fantasy, mecha, romance, and war politics still hits. Hitomi isn't some useless damsel. She actively influences the plot with her tarot readings and emotional growth. Van is a solid protagonist dealing with actual consequences and moral dilemmas instead of collecting a harem. The animation is 90s perfection, with hand-drawn mechs and gorgeous backgrounds. Yoko Kanno's soundtrack is legendary. If you haven't heard the opening, you're missing out on anime history. The love triangle is handled maturely, the villains have depth, and the ending actually commits to its themes instead of chickening out. Arriving at number 3, it's Handyman Saitou in Another World. This is the isekai equivalent of a cozy slice of life, and it's weirdly perfect. Saitou is a regular handyman who gets transported to a fantasy world and just keeps being a handyman. No chosen one destiny, no overpowered abilities. He's literally just a middle-aged guy with practical skills joining an adventuring party. And it works because everyone in the party is a lovable disaster. The warrior has crippling self-doubt, the mage is a deadpan pyromaniac, and the fairy is chaotic neutral personified. The humor comes from subverting every isekai trope imaginable. Dungeons have OSHA violations. The demon lord is depressed and relatable. Rolling into number 2, we have Uncle from Another World. This show is what happens when you give isekai the Arrested Development treatment. Oji-san wakes up from a 17-year coma after being trapped in a fantasy world, and watching him readjust to modern Japan while sharing his cringe isekai adventures is comedy gold. He has overpowered magic, but uses it for the dumbest things, avoiding human interaction, playing retro games, and being aggressively oblivious to romance. The flashbacks to his isekai time are hilarious because he's the most generic-looking protagonist ever, and everyone in the fantasy world treated him like garbage because of it. And finally, number 1, Haibane Renmei. This isn't your typical isekai. Actually, calling it isekai feels wrong, but technically it fits. Characters wake up in an unfamiliar world with no memories. Except this show is a slow, meditative exploration of purgatory, identity, and redemption. Haibane are angel-like beings living in a walled town, and the mystery of what they are and why they're there unfolds with devastating subtlety. This is Studio Ghibli meets Serial Experiments Lane vibes. Beautiful, melancholic, and philosophical. There's no action, no fan service, no power fantasy. Just characters processing trauma, finding meaning, and confronting their past through allegory. The atmosphere is hauntingly gorgeous, with muted colors and a somber soundtrack that stays with you. Reki's arc alone makes the show essential viewing. It handles depression and self-forgiveness with more nuance than most dramas. So there's the list, 10 isekai anime that actually respect your brain cells. Whether you want strategy, comedy, existential dread, or wholesome vibes, these shows prove the genre has more to offer than overpowered protagonists and accidental harem formations. Drop your favorite underrated isekai in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe for more anime content. Thanks for watching!